to establish a nation that would be a beacon of hope and freedom to countless millions throughout generations. Each of the 56 signers knew the risk of their actions. They formed a pact. That pact stated, with a firm reliance on the protection of divine providence, we mutually pledge to each other our lives, our fortunes, and our sacred honor. Are we willing to do that today? Yes. Are we willing to bring back America and to restore it? Yes. They realized the cost of forming a new nation, yet they were willing to pay the price. They were willing to engage in political action despite the odds to form what would become the greatest nation that the world has ever known, the United States of America. Yet, in the early 1900s, the authors of The Day Americans Told the Truth polled Americans about which belief they would die for. And guess what? 48% said none. Only 30% would die for God. And fewer stated that they would die for their country. That's sad. And we are continuing to this day to slip further and further backwards. Isn't it ironic that the descendants of those that fled a tyrannical and excessive government to form a new nation have allowed themselves to be placed under the same oppression that our founders sought to escape? The founders of this nation would find it hard to believe that this is the same America that they created in 1776. The founders of our nation believed that the principles of freedom and liberty would be as important to us in our day as they were to them in theirs. They also expected us to pass down those same principles that guided them to our prosperity. They envisioned a nation where each individual citizen would strive to protect the liberty that they have enjoyed since our nation's birth. They knew that once lost, freedom would be difficult, if not impossible, to regain. They did not want the sacrifices or hard labor that went into the birth of our constitutional republic to be laid aside or taken lightly by future generations. Their goal was rooted in the hope that each generation of Americans would continue to build upon their foundation of liberty and activism, thereby ensuring that America would continue to thrive and prosper throughout the passing of time. In short, it is important that each American citizen stay involved within the political process as their civic duty and responsibility. Doing so ensures that those who labored so hard to bring about a representative government would not have labored in vain. We're losing America today, people, but we can restore it. The founders and early patriots presented us with a pattern of how we should engage ourselves in the process of government as concerned citizens. They believed that it was our duty to learn from their examples so that we might continue to engage ourselves in the political process, thereby making sure that America would continue to prosper. They knew that our continual participation would ensure that we would have control over our own destiny. They also wanted us to never forget that we as citizens have certain unalienable rights. They are not the product of our government, and they are permanent. They are our natural rights and should never be relinquished to the government. these rights, and therefore it cannot take them away. Just a side note here, they will pursue ways to suppress them. The government will do anything that they can to suppress your rights, but it is our duty as citizens to stand up for those rights. Are you hearing me? It was never intended for the citizen to place himself or herself outside of the political process by those who are our elected officials or representatives. The founders warned us to be on guard during all phases of the political process so that we would be able to freely defend our ability to participate in government at every level: precinct, state, county, national. They admonished us to revere our personal responsibility of citizen involvement so much that it would become second nature in our lives. Not something that we should delegate to a ruling class, which is who the people in Washington, D.C. and some in the state houses think they are today. Those who gave their lives and fortunes to establish this republic envisioned a future generation of Americans that would succeed them with an attitude of willingness and obligation of citizen involvement. They wanted every citizen to guard their participation in government as an honor and treat it as a hidden treasure or a precious stone. Freedom is a precious stone. Freedom is precious to each and every one of us, and we must stand up for liberty and freedom at all costs. Consider freedom and liberty as valuable treasures, and so must we. After all, Americans would have the blessings of enjoying more freedoms than any other people in the history of human civilization. Aren't you glad about that? Yes. We are an exceptional nation because of our unique form of government. And knowing that we are exceptional should motivate us to actively participate in the concerns that affect our daily lives. It is important for each of us to know that our voices matter. It is equally important that we realize that it's time for us to rise up once again, to take back our country, and to restore this constitutional republic. We are witnessing a departure from the principles that made this nation great. Look around you. America is headed in the wrong direction. Those who are leading us down the path are doing so with failed liberal, progressive, socialist policies that have not worked anywhere in the world that they've been tried. Anywhere. But they feel that more money, pouring more action into it, they might have the solution. It does not work, and it will not work in America. It's time to bring America back to the sound, common sense principles that made this nation great. Failed policies always end with what? Failed results. How is it that those who are running these failed cities and communities can continue to present these policies and keep a straight face? They should be ashamed of themselves. The result of their policies are, now listen to this, civil unrest, a breakdown of our educational system, increased poverty even after spending trillions of dollars. The war on poverty, it hasn't worked. Broken homes, our children have no moral direction, an increase in single-parent homes, the destruction of marriage, a disrespect for our founding principles. The list goes on and on and on. They want to institute gay marriage. They want to tear down religious freedom laws. Everything that's the opposite of what our founding fathers built this country up on. We must stand up and fight back. It's time for Americans to clean up the act and take charge to restore our nation. Realize, first of all, that we will not be able to fix our nation overnight. However, we must begin now. We got to start somewhere, and we're doing it. We've heard it today, some of the things that are going on. We must continue. We must begin to educate our children and the public. However, there's a catch. We must involve organizations other than those that are considered hostile to them, the media, and the public. We've got to get outside of our bubble. We must work with corporations, schools, churches, social organizations, and social media to teach our fellow citizens conservative values. They must be shown why these values work and help America prosper. Everyone must realize that they are just as much as part of the solution as those who have created the problem. Don't you agree? Yes. Continuing to remain silent is no longer an option for any of us. It's time that we all come together to restore our nation. People can no longer be told that they're victims, and we must renew a respect for our Constitution and the founding principles of these United States of America. Family values must be taught in our schools, in our homes, in our churches. And our youth must be taught the meaning of respect. They don't know how to respect today. They must not only learn how to respect themselves, but others. And what it means to be a responsible citizen. All you hear now today is we did this because we wanted to tear it down. We have no more respect for public property, personal property, ourselves, or our neighbors. We must begin to teach these values in America. We must break the cycle of poverty and violence. We must change attitudes and mindsets about the American work ethic. We must find alternatives to the mainstream media to get our message out and to draw the youth and those who will take our place in this movement. Above all, think about this, above all, conservatives must find unity. I'll say that again. We must find unity of purpose and work together to bring all Americans to the table for an honest and fair debate. Do you agree with me? Yeah. We must stand together. Our biggest challenge begins in the home. Good parenting, good leadership, teaching those that we influence not only godly principles, but respect for the laws of our land and respect one for another. We've only scratched the surface here today, and I'm getting ready to close. But we got to start somewhere. And the time is now. Not tomorrow, but from right here, today, the time is now. And I'll ask you again, look around you. Can America survive if we do nothing? No. Can America survive if we do nothing? No. God bless you. We cannot. We cannot afford to lose the greatest nation and beacon of freedom and liberty that the world has ever known. So if you answered no, then you realize that it's time. It's time to do your part to mend and restore our republic. The founders did their part. Now it's time to do ours. So God bless you. And God bless each and every veteran and active duty person that has served in our military, who died and fought to make and to keep this nation free. May God continue to bless America. May God continue to bless America. Freedom and liberty, use them or lose them. God bless you and thank you.